All right, so in my last few videos, I've been talking a lot about anger and righteous indignation, righteous rage. In this video, I want to talk about some of the benefits of anger, and then also how do we process anger in a healthy way. So let's begin with the benefits of anger. Anger, when expressed in a healthy way, can be extremely beneficial. When we become angry, our amygdala is activated. And as I've said in previous videos, or as I've explained in previous videos, our amygdala, it serves as our alarm system, right? It tells us that, all right, we need to get into fight mode or we need to get into flight mode, right? It's that part of our brain that essentially is ringing the alarm. And so anger activates the amygdala. And this is helpful because it informs us when a value or a principle of ours has been violated, right? We become angry when in some way we feel that a boundary has been crossed, a line has been crossed. And that's good because it helps us to get clarity on what we do deem to be important and those things that we do hold as deep values. And this ultimately helps us to shape our values and helps us to draw our boundaries. And so this is a good thing when the amygdala is activated and we become aware of what is important to us and when we feel violated and what principles truly matter to us. So that's a good part. That's a benefit of anger. Also, when anger is expressed in a healthy way in relationships, it can breed or it can cultivate intimacy, right? When you're able to express when a boundary or a value or a principle of yours has been violated by someone who you are in relationship with, and you all are able to talk that out and come to a resolution, that ultimately breeds and it cultivates intimacy. It causes the relationship to grow. I know many of us have had the experience where you go through conflict with someone, and once you come out on the other side, that relationship is strengthened. It's more solidified. And so there's many benefits to anger that I could go on and on about. The last one that I'll mention is that when you express anger in a healthy way, it keeps you from turning your anger inward and almost taking it out on yourself. And that manifests itself and it shows up in the form of depression a lot of times, or in the form of chronic illness, because instead of actually outwardly expressing anger in a healthy way, you've turned it in on yourself, right? I've heard depression often described as anger turned on yourself. It's self-loathing. You're angry at yourself. And so you start to punish yourself in ways like being unproductive or withdrawing or not taking care of yourself as far as with physical movement or the way that you're nourishing your body and so on, or just keeping up with basic hygiene. So these are all some of the consequences of not expressing anger in a healthy way. But as I said, expressing anger in a healthy way comes with a lot of benefits. So I want to quickly just share 3 ways that you can express anger and process anger in a healthy way so that you can experience the full benefits of doing so. The first thing is to name it, right? Name the thing that has caused you to become angry. And the reason why this is important is because when that amygdala, right, our alarm system is ringing in our brains and it's telling us, oh, something's wrong, like we need to take action or we need to run or we need to shut down or withdraw. When that amygdala is going crazy, when you simply can name it and articulate, why am I feeling this way right now? Then it helps to calm you. And it also helps to activate the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the more logical and reasoning that we do with our brains. And so when the amygdala is sounding the alarm like, oh, I'm angry, and you want to immediately tell someone off or just run away and avoid the situation, by simply naming it. And you can name it in a variety of ways. You can name it by journaling and saying, I felt disrespected today because X, Y, and Z happened. I felt that this person didn't value my opinion. They spoke over me. They interrupted me repeatedly. You're naming it, right? You're activating that prefrontal cortex so that you can engage in good reasoning and think through what is the logical next step that I should take here. You can name it by simply talking to a friend, calling up a confidant and sharing, this is what happened to me today. This is why I was angered. This person said X, Y, and Z to me. Talking to a friend. You can name it through prayer, pouring out your heart to God. You know, as a believer, as a Christian, this is something that I encourage quite a bit. If you don't have a confidant that you can turn to, if you're not really into journaling, just pray, pour it out to God. Like, God, I felt hurt by this. I didn't deserve to be spoken to that way. I didn't deserve to be betrayed in that way. I didn't fill in the blank, right? But you want to name it because that then takes you out of the fight mode, the flight mode, takes you out of just straight action because the amygdala is being activated and it begins to activate your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for logic and reason. So simply name it, journaling, praying, talking to a friend. Then the next thing is that you need to release. A lot of times when anger is activated within us, we're filled with cortisol, our adrenaline has spiked. You need to find a way to move that, right? So that you can just calm down and come back to center. And so there's a variety of ways that you can begin to release anger, but I'm just going to give you a few that you might want to consider trying. Sometimes just screaming, like literally going outside or getting in a space where you can just scream, or screaming in your pillow, that can serve as just a release. Just crying, literally just allowing yourself to weep. I know I am somebody, if I get angry enough, I will begin to tear up because I just need a release. I'm filled with all these emotions. My adrenaline is running high. My cortisol has spiked and I need to just release. So you may cry, you may scream. I know people who love to go to the gym, work out, run, lift weights, take it out on a punching bag. That makes them feel better because it's their form of release. Maybe just walking outside. People I've heard instruct others like, oh, okay, just go for a walk it off. Do whatever works for you to get it out and to release. But part of the release oftentimes is like move your body. Right? Like you can't oftentimes think your way out of anger or anxiety. When everything in your body has raised, your adrenaline, the cortisol levels have spiked, you actually need to move your body to get that thing to release. So it may mean like running and screaming or working out, but you got to find a way to release. Maybe even finding a place where you put on protective gear and you have the space where you can do it in a safe way, but breaking glass, just something to release and move that out of your body. And then the third thing is to take aligned action. So once you have named, this is why I felt disrespected, this is what happened, this is why I felt devalued, this is why I was angered, then you've taken action to release it, right? By engaging in some sort of movement, you've done something to get all that out of your body, just a release. Then you need to focus on what is the aligned action that I can take now that I've begun to process my anger and I'm clear on why I was angered. I've been able to move my body to release it so that I'm not operating with my amygdala, controlling and dictating my next steps, but now I'm in action mode. I'm really activating my prefrontal cortex, that logic and reasoning part of my brain. What can I do? So if you've been angered because a boundary was crossed in a relationship, maybe the next aligned action is to set what is the new boundary that you need to set and hold, and how will you set and hold it? Thinking through it, writing it down. Maybe it's a situation where you feel for the last time I've been devalued, overlooked on my job, and that angered me. Well, the aligned next step is I'm going to update my resume and I'm going to start putting feelers out there and look for a new job. The aligned action could be, again, many different actions, but you need to determine what is the next step that I'm going to take in response to this anger. And this is key because it almost completes the full cycle of processing anger in a healthy way. You've named it, you've clearly articulated, you are very clear on what caused you to become angry because you named it either through conversation with a friend, through journaling, through prayer, however you chose to name it. Then you moved your body, you did something to release it, either through working out, going for a walk, literally screaming, breaking something in a safe space, or a space where, you're safe to break something without causing harm to yourself or to another person. You've done something to release it, right? And so now you're back to a place where you can begin thinking logically about aligned action. So you're regulating your nervous system. You're bringing your nervous system back to that calm, peaceful state where your prefrontal cortex is activated and you're able to think logically and you're able to reason. So this kind of completes the cycle of processing your anger in a healthy way. You've named it, you've released it, you've gotten it out, and now you're taking aligned action. And so now you can move forward and you don't have to just sit in that anger and let it turn into resentment and bitterness. So these are some things that I hope are helpful for you next time you become angry, whether it's due to, some microaggression related to race or gender or some other reason why you've become angry. When you're dealing with being angered and this is righteous anger, this is righteous rage, I have every reason to be angry, right? This was an injustice and so on. Doing these 3 things, naming it, releasing it, taking aligned action, will help you process your anger in a healthy way so that you can see the benefits of expressing and processing righteous rage and anger. So again, I hope this is helpful, and I will continue to put out videos about how to process your anger and rage, because we are living in times where there are a lot of things that can cause a person to be righteously angered and to deal with the righteous indignation. And I just want to be of help and a blessing to those who are trying to process everything that is surrounding them in this moment.